Howdy, welcome back to Wobble Enjoy Sports. If you're new around here, hope I can get you to consider to like the content and subscribe to the channel. But if you're a regular around these here parts, thank you very much for the continuous support. If you are new around here, let me just put this forward to you that Wobble Enjoy Sports started in 2021, and every single season, my tipping has been above 60% accuracy rate. No, it's not 70, it's not 80, but it's above 60%. So please, come subscribe and follow Wobble Enjoy Sports. Without further ado, let's check out the rest of round number 1. The rest of round number 1 in the NRL continues on Thursday night footy, emanating from Allianz Stadium, East versus Brisbane. This will be the 60th edition of the Roosters versus Broncos, and Brisbane have the ledger at 32-27. This will be the Broncos' first match at the brand new Allianz Stadium. Their last match out at the old SFS, out at Moore Park, that happened in 2018, and they won on that occasion. So Sydney technically have not defeated Brisbane at SFS since the year 2017. This will be the second match that these two clubs have featured in round 1 against each other since the year 2020. The Sydney Roosters have won 7 of the past 9 matches against the Brisbane Broncos. It has been dominant from the Tricolours since the year 2020. Speaking of that year, the Broncos have won 3 out of the past 5 round 1 matches since 2020. For the Roosters, they've won 2 out of the past 5 round 1 matches. And on Sportsbet, we've got the Brisbane Broncos as favourites at $1.39 to the Roosters $3 outsiders. I give the Roosters a sniff. I thought I would be standing here telling you that I think the Broncos should absolutely smash the Roosters, and I'm already going to tell you my tip that I'm going to say I think Brisbane Broncos will win, but I don't think it's going to be a smashing. I look primarily at the back row battle between the two, and you've got Jordan Ricky and Jack Gajewski in the second row for the Brisbane Broncos. On the opposite end, Angus Crichton and Victor Radley. That is absolutely nothing to sneeze at. And then you look into the backline matchups. We're going to have, and I think this is how it's going to go. It may change on game day, but we're going to have Jesse Arthurs versus Dominic Young. On the other side, we're going to have Tupou versus Cobbo on the other side as well. Radley's going to be going head-to-head with Ricky. Goz is going to be going head-to-head with Crichton as well. Shibasaki versus Toya. I think it's a little bit deceptively evenly matched than what people are giving this credit for. However, though, Michael Maguire has absolutely sent this side to the depths of hell, and they are now coming out of it, and they're ready to kick ass. I am going to tip the Brisbane Broncos. There were just too many pieces out of that Roosters side, even though it's still got James Tedesco in there. But with the halves combination of Ben Hunt and Adam Reynolds versus Sandon Smith and Chad Townsend, and based off of trial form, I've got to go the Brisbane Broncos to win this game 1-12. Friday night footy, there are 2 contests, and match number 1 emanates from Campbelltown Stadium. West Tigers host the Newcastle Knights. The Tigers are $2.12 outsiders. Newcastle are $1.73 favourites. And if you don't mind me telling you, the West Tigers about 5 days ago were the favourites. Slightly, but they were favoured. I don't know what's happened over the past 5 days. Maybe the bookies were a bit delayed in their reaction to seeing what the Newcastle Knights did to the Sydney Roosters. That has now become quite juicy if you were tempted to tip the West Tigers this Friday night. Now, This will be the 39th match between the West Tigers and Newcastle Knights. It is 21 to 17 in favour of the Knights. This will be the 11th match at Campbelltown Stadium that these two have fought at, and the ledger is at 6 wins to the Tigers, 4 losses to Newcastle. But Newcastle did win the last encounter that was played at Campbelltown Stadium in the year 2022. Technically, meaning Tigers haven't beaten the Knights at Campbelltown since the year 2019. In regards to round one form, the Newcastle Knights, they are 3-5 in round one. They don't start too badly. If you recall, they did a number on the Sydney Roosters at the start of the 2022 season. Meanwhile, the West Tigers, since the year 2020, they are 1-5, and that one solitary victory came in the year 2020. These two sides have met once in round one, and that was in 2013, and that was a heavy victory for the Newcastle Knights. One of the matchups that I'm really looking forward to in this game is Samuel Fainu versus Dylan Lucas. Now, Adam O'Brien might change plans on me and make me look like a bit of a goose, but Samuel Fainu out there on the left edge, attacking wise for the West Tigers. I'm pretty sure Kai Pearce-Paul did things on the left attacking wise for the Knights, so therefore Dylan Lucas, that other second row slot, he could be out there on the right hand side, or even so, it would be Fainu versus Kai Pearce-Paul, but I'm pretty certain it is going to be Fainu versus Dylan Lucas, and that is going to be smash mouth. The team lineups here now for the West Tigers. Heath Mason is at fullback, but by God, he can do no wrong from everything that I've seen from him so far. He is a go-getter. He works his backside off. You've got club debutants Sunia Taruva and Jerome Luai, Terrell May coming into the fold. Royce Hunt has also been named. The centres, though, Adam Dewey has been named in the centres, and Solomona Fa'atape has been named as the other centre. Yes, we're also getting Galvin and Luai as the halves pairing, with Luai technically with the 7 on his back. Now, Api Coruscant has been suspended for the one game due to something that happened against Parramatta in the trials. So in comes Talon De Silva to start at hooker, with Tristan Hope coming off the bench in jersey 14. Tristan Hope, I've harped on about him in the live stream that I did a couple of weeks ago. He is a Brisbane Tigers premiership winner from the Queensland Cup about 2 years ago now, and he is a go-getter himself. And Talon De Silva, doesn't he look silky smooth, but very, very quick, very quick. So I think Talon De Silva can absolutely do a job, not as good as one as Api Coruscant could or can, but I do think Talon De Silva is one not to be mucked around with this weekend. And Jack Bird in that trial was very impressive, but that was just a trial, of course. Shifting over to the Newcastle Knights. Listen, if you're a Knights fan out there, or if you've heard that I've tipped them to be the wooden spoon, the main reason why I have tipped Newcastle to be the wooden spooners for 2025 is because I literally have no idea what Fletcher Sharp is going to offer this year. He is still hidden within. As far as I'm concerned, I still need to chip away at that friggin' rock to find that diamond. Now, if you know all about him and you know that he's going to kick ass, then good for you. But I've still got to catch up on speed because I've got the rest of the NRL planet to worry about. So I'm really going to try and keep a keen eye on Fletcher Sharp. But he'll obviously get help from Kalen Ponga, Dane Gagai, and his halves partner. So Sharp is at 5'8", and Jack Cogger is the halfback, and Jackson Hastings is nowhere to be seen, with Phoenix Crossland and Jaden Brayley named as the dummy half and interchange hooker, respectively. Also another name, James Schiller, making his club debut for the Newcastle Knights. Really enjoyed watching him when he was a Raider. Now he's a Newcastle Knight. Hope he goes really, really well. It might be a game where I might be bitten by the hype factor. This Newcastle Knights side have played 4 out of the past 5 final series, and this West Tigers team, yes, they've brought some exciting talent, but they're not going to be gelled, are they? But Luai and Taruva, they're going to bring that Penrith Panther mentality or the experience in big game day matches. So that will keep them at bay. This is a true flip of the coin. I was going to tip the West Tigers, but there's now something telling me that the Newcastle Knights are just going to pip them because there's just a little bit more continuity. They would have taken a lot of confidence out of that big win against the Roosters a couple of weeks ago. And the likes of a Taruva and a Jerome Luai, they are pretty rusty. This is their first hit out of the season, and even though that didn't mean a thing for Dylan Edwards or Nathan Cleary, they got the dub the other day. I'm going to tip the Newcastle Knights, but man, what a great start. What a great way to kick off the season on Friday night. The second game on Friday night emanates from Combank Stadium. The South Sydney Rabbitohs host the Dolphins. The Dolphins are $1.64 favourites, whereas South Sydney are $2.27 outsiders. The main reason for that is because there is Cyclone Alfred knocking on the door up here in Queensland. And just quickly, I tried to get myself a sandbag at 6 o'clock in the morning after I finished my night shift. And he said, "Are you willing to wait 7 hours for a couple of sandbags?" And I said, "No, because I'm working later on tonight." So anyways, I should be okay. It should be okay for tonight. It is over the weekend where I'm starting to fret. But anyway, let's get back to footy. So the Dolphins have had to move their fixture from Suncorp, and they are now the away side. But it is still on mutual ground. South Sydney Rabbitohs, this will be the 15th time that they will have played at Combank Stadium since it opened in 2019, and they have a 9-win, 5-loss record overall. So it's not the happiest of hunting grounds for South Sydney Rabbitohs, but it is in their favour. Meanwhile, this is just the second ever trip for the Dolphins to Combank Stadium. Unfortunately, they lost on that occasion by 1 point to the West Tigers. This will be the third match between the two clubs, and it is even Stevens. This is the first time these two teams have met in New South Wales as well. A couple of milestones, or 1.5 milestones, I should mention. This will be Herbie Farnworth's 100th first grade game in the NRL, so congratulations to him. And Cody Walker is sitting on 99 career tries. I think I might have to put him in me multi this weekend. As far as team list goes, the big changes for the Dolphins, Junior Tupou is in. He probably would not have been, with all due respect, if it wasn't for the fact that Jack Bostock did, I believe, an MCL injury in the trials a couple of weeks ago, poor bugger. But the halves pairing remains as Nikorima and Katoa. The rest of the back line is pretty much per the program. And the forward pack now, this is a pretty interesting new forward pack for the Dolphins. So it's Daniel Saifidi, JMK, and Korfusi starting in the front row. In the back row, Max Plath, Fenufuiaki, and new Dolphins captain Tom Gilbert. Interchange Kurt Donahoe, Connolly Lemuelu, Mark Nichols, and Ray Stone. Kenny Bromwich named his jersey number 18, named his 18th man. Watch this space. For the South Sydney Rabbitohs, Jai Gray is in for Latrell Mitchell for at least the next 6 weeks. The wingers, Tass and Munro. The centres, Whiten and Campbell Graham. Let's go, bro. Let's friggin' go, Campbell Graham. The halves pairing is Cody Walker and Jamie Humphreys. That could be a really, really cool combo. The forward pack, Kepi, Mawali Mamasulis, Kolomatangi, Jai Arrow, and Lachlan Hubner. Whoa, dude, what happened to Talis Duncan? He's right there on the interchange bench in jersey number 16, and so too is Tavita Totola. Welcome back to first grade, dude. Jaden Sullivan, jersey 14, that's interesting as well. But yeah, Lachlan Hubner, so he's come from the Dolphins, right? Well, he must have absolutely blown the socks off of Wayne Bennett in the preseason to get the nod in front of Havili and Talis Duncan for sure, man. I originally tipped South Sydney. And the closer it got to game day over the past few days, I thought, oh, Dolphins might actually be able to handle it. But now that it's been shifted back down towards Sydney, I think I got to lean towards the South Sydney Rabbitohs again. And the South Sydney Rabbitohs are how much of an outsider in this game? Uh, the bookies have them at $2.27. That surely will be coming in closer towards game day. So get on South Sydney now, I reckon. I think Wayne Bennett had a plan to tackle the Dolphins, and I mean, of course he did, but like I think he had a really good plan to upset the Dolphins in Brisbane, and now they're playing in Sydney, albeit at neutral territory. I just think it works into the favour of South Sydney Rabbitohs, and I'm going to tip South Sydney 1-12. Moving into the Saturday games, and match number 1 on Super Saturday is from Netstrata Jubilee Stadium in Cogra, the Dragons versus the Doggies. And on Sportsbet, it is the Dogs who are the favourites, sitting at $1.61. The Dragons are $2.31 outsiders. I don't know what to make of the Dragons. I really have no idea. Like, I don't know if that's juicy value or not for the Dragons. So let me go through the team list. So we got Gutherson, Matt Feangai, and Tuapolotu as the back three. The centres are Sully and Holmes. You could do a lot worse than that, couldn't you? The halves pairing, though, that's maybe on the other end of the spectrum just quietly, but Kyle Flanagan and Lachlan Ilias, it'll be fantastic to see Lachlan Ilias come back. The forward pack, Toby Couchman, Damien Cook and Emrank Gula are starting. Okay, the back row, this might be their strength. The Dragons. Their starting back row is Leilua, Sua, and DeBellin. Say what you want about DeBellin, but DeBellin has worked his ass off for the better part of 18 months now. Interchange, Jacob Little, Ryan Couchman, Raymond Faitala-Mariner, and Hamish Stewart. I don't know if this is his first grade debut, but well done to Hamish Stewart for getting into the 1-17 in round 1. So well done to him. For the Bulldogs now, Connor Tracy, Blake Wilson and Marcelo Montoya are the back three. Bronson Sherry and Stephen Crichton are the centres. Jacob Carraz reportedly going to miss the next 3 weeks probably with a back injury. The halves pairing is Matt Burton and Toby Sexton. The forward pack, King, Marnie and Hughes. The back row, Kikau, Preston and Kurt Mann. And the interchange, Hayward, Tupanua, Satili Tupanua. Oh man, I can't wait to see what he provides for the Bulldogs. Harry Hayes and Jamin Salmon. That rounds out the Bulldogs in round number 1. I am going to stick with the Bulldogs. I just think that they got some wind in the sails coming off of last year, and the Dragons, they've looked good in trials. I can't beat around the bush, but it's round 1. That was pre-season. This is round 1. Are they a sniff? Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. So we'll see what happens. This might be that round 1 upset, but I'm tipping the Bulldogs. The main event of Super Saturday emanates from Four Pines Park. The Manly Sea Eagles host the North Queensland Cowboys. Manly Sea Eagles are approximately $1.50. North Queensland are $2.61. This will be the 37th match between the two. Manly have the lead at 21-15. Since 2016, the away side has won 9 of 11 games, including the past 4 in a row. That is a pretty rare statistic, and I think it's the most graphic of that kind in the NRL. The away team in this clash between the Sea Eagles and the Cowboys ends up winning it most of the time. To include or add on to it, North Queensland's best away venue, it's Four Pines Park. It's Brookvale Oval, man. They have no fear going down to Four Pines Park, but they got to show some respect, obviously. The last time they met, it resulted in a golden point game. It was a loss to the Cowboys, thanks to the boot of DCE. And they've only met once in a round 1, Cowboys and Manly, and that was back in 2004, which resulted in a win for Manly. I've said that too many times now. Since 2020, Manly Sea Eagles and Cowboys round 1 history is as follows. The Cowboys, They are 2-3. So too are the Manly Sea Eagles. Both of these sides are 2-3 in round one since the year 2020. Murray Taulagi, he is sitting on 49 career tries. I'm going to pop him in my multi as well. And not multi talk here, but Carl Lawton goes up against his old club this Saturday at 4 Pines Park. So going into the team list for the Seagulls first, it is Trebojevic, Saab, and Lehigh Hopewadi. The centres, Kohler and Garrick. Brooks and DCE are the halves pairing. Paseka, Talkiaho, and Jazz Tavanga, the front row. Jazz Tavanga at hooker, I'm sure he can still do it. I'm sure he will do a fine job this weekend, but I think Manly are going to miss Lachlan Croker a truckload, who, by reports, I believe he's going to be out until about round number 5 or thereabouts, but I think they're going to miss Lachlan Croker this weekend. The back row for Manly is Ben Trebojevic, Homale Olakawatu, and Jake Trebojevic. The interchange for them is Simpkin, Waddell, Bullymore, and Sipley. Over to the North Queensland Cowboys now, and meanwhile, Jason Taumalolo has been named in the reserve, so watch this space. But pretty much the team that played in that trial against the Storm are all backing up. So congratulations to Jackson Purdue for getting that centre spot. And boy, howdy, if he continues on the trail that he's going, Zach Laybutt is going to be getting further and further away, asking what the friggin' hell happened there. But also a massive congratulations goes to Tom Duffy, who is going to make his first grade debut this weekend at halfback alongside co-captain Tom Dearden. Tom Duffy, man, I've watched him for a few years now, bro. He is absolutely ready. Queensland Cup player of last season. He's absolutely ready. Watch this space with Mr. Tom Duffy. So we've also got in the forward pack now, so it's McLean and McIntyre starting with Robson in at hooker. So I reckon that's a pretty relatively even front row battle. The back row now is Bateman, Nene, and Cotter. The interchange is Lawton, Edwards, Neem, and Hess. And I'll just say, having both Lawton and Edwards makes this look a little bit smaller, but you underestimate Harrison Edwards at your own peril. He is a workhorse, and I don't think the word breakout is the correct term or word to use for him, but I think a lot more people might end up noticing Harrison Edwards' hard work as the season progresses. I really hope he goes well, the young man Harrison Edwards. A lot of Cowboys, we really do like him, the way that he works really, really hard. But yeah, again, Jason Taumalolo has been named on the reserves, but so too Thomas McKaylee. So maybe he might be a swap out for Harrison Edwards or Carl Lawton just to give us a little bit more size, but we'll see what happens there. Now, matchups, absolutely critical in this game, and it could go one or two ways really, but this is how I think it's going to line up, so I apologize if it's not how it's the way that it's going to be. But because Jeremiah Nene is making way for John Bateman, he's shifted himself from the right edge to the left edge, attacking wise for the Cowboys and defensively sort of thing. But that means by shifting over to the left-hand side from the right, Jeremiah Nene is going up against one-on-one with Olakawatu this Saturday night, and Nene looks massive. Nene, for me, is the Cowboy that I'm watching with most intensity in 2025. This is a huge matchup, man. I cannot wait to watch how Nene and Olakawatu tackle each other, bro. It's going to be sensational. Murray Taulagi versus Jason Saab. Jackson Purdue versus Ruben Garrick. So Nene has to sort of really do a little bit more help for Purdue, and Taulagi's got to be aware of that as well. Dearden and Daly Cherry Evans are going to be coming together as well. They're going to go one-on-one, head-to-head. But Tom Duffy versus Luke Brooks. So Tom Duffy is going to get a pretty stern test with Luke Brooks via his running game. And Tom Trbojevic, I'm sure, is going to be lurking around the back trying to test out young Tom Duffy. So I think this is a a sleeper game. I don't think a lot of people are really talking about it, and they should, because I think both of these sides mirrored each other at various different stages throughout 2024. This is a massive game, man. Based off last year, it's fifth versus seventh, I think it is. It's fifth versus seventh, man. And these two sides, more times often than not, they turn it on. So this game at 4 Points Park, I believe it's sold out. Man, this is going to be an absolute cracker. Come on, you Cowboys, go have a good day on the hill. And the final game of round number 1 is from Amy Park in Melbourne. It's the Storm hosting the Parramatta Eels. Storm are $1.11. Whoa. And Parramatta Eels are $6.70. Whoa, I didn't know it was that big. The Melbourne Storm Parramatta games, this will be the 47th match between the two, and it is Melbourne Storm who have the lead at 28-18. Melbourne, they have won 4 in a row against the Parramatta Eels, and the last time that the Eels defeated the Storm was in 2022, and that match happened at Amy Park, which was the last time they played at Amy Park. Going into the team list, Jerome Hughes, he's back. He might be rusty, but he's the Dally M player of 2024, so he might actually hit the ground running. Ryan Pappenhausen might be the one to be concerned about hitting the ground running, but he's back in at fullback. We've got Coates out there. We've got Warbrick, Howarth, and Meaney. Stefano Utuakamanu makes his first, his fair income club debut in round number 1. And that's pretty much per the program, really. Kamikamitha and Va'a Lepu are coming off the bench. Meanwhile, for the Parramatta Eels, let's have a gaze at what's going on here. So Iongi, Russell, and Tungo are the back 3. Penasini and Zach Lomax are the centres. That's good. That's a good centre pairing, and I think Penasini worked his arse off in the last trial. Dylan Brown and Ronald Volkman, because Mitchell Moses is out with foot soreness. So best of recoveries to him. The forward pack is Offahen and Polo, with Brendan Hands at hooker. Offahen and Polo to start, eh? Jack Williams starting out there on the second row. There was a rumour that he was going to start as a prop, but no, he's going to be starting second row alongside Tuolangi and Jermaine Hopgood in the back row. That's a decent old back row for Parramatta. Interchange is Riley Smith, Riley Smith. He was awesome in that second trial against the West Tigers. So he, I believe, makes his first grade debut, so well done to him. Matt Dory, Ryan Madison, and Big Charlie Goima rounds out the 17. You add Mitchell Moses to that, it's definitely not sitting at $6 plus. But unfortunately, Para, I think it's going to result in a loss for you. I'm going to tip the Melbourne Storm to win this game 13 plus. Yo, everyone, thank you so much for your patience. Thank you for your support. It all really means a lot. Batten down the hatches this weekend because of the cyclone, but fingers crossed for absolutely everybody, north, south, east, and west of Brisbane and in the northern rivers of New South Wales. I really hope it doesn't happen again for Lismore. I really, really don't, like we all do. So thank you. Have a very nice weekend. Enjoy the footy, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you. Take care. Adios.